Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Sean Aylmer, and as always, I'm joined by economist Stephen Koukoulas. You'll find him at thekouk.com, Thekouk, thekouk.com, and on X using the handle thekouk. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
You've had a couple of weeks break, Stephen. It's all over.
Yep.
What a massive week for the economy. Starting off with the all-important inflation data for the September quarter and the month of September.
Yeah, we've been sort of in a bit of a data drought, but this week is a corker. And yes, the inflation numbers that are coming out on Wednesday will be, well, all important for the Australian market. The Reserve Bank will be watching them with a huge amount of interest to see whether they've got any confirmation or further confirmation that inflation's falling, or rather than whether inflation's falling, how quickly it's falling. Because we know it's coming down, but it's just a matter of how much. So
what do you expect?
Oh, look, the quarterly data first. It looks like the headline figure is going to be about 0.3 for the quarter, around about 2.9 annual inflation rate. So remember that incorporates the effect of the subsidies on electricity from both the federal government and some state governments, particularly up in Queensland, where they've been giving us householders a big rebate on our electricity. So a very low headline figure. So in a sense, we've got that headline figure in the 2 to 3 target range, which will be a nice thing for, I suppose, inflation expectations. But the trimmed mean, which we believe the Reserve Bank does focus on more because it sort of strips out what we might call these artificial changes in prices, probably decelerating to about 0.7% growth for the quarter, down to around about that 3.3, 3.4, something like that. So coming down towards the target, anything around those numbers will just reinforce the rates on hold when the RBA meets next week. If we get a little bit lower, then that'll excite a few people, and particularly in the context of, for example, last week, the Bank of Canada cutting interest rates and all these other central banks that have been cutting, and maybe that rate cut scenario, which has sort of been a bit of a sleeper the last few weeks, might just awake from its hibernation. So all eyes on that inflation number.
Very exciting. Now, there's a bunch of partial data points this week too, but building approvals, retail, trade, lending data. But before we get those, house prices, what's going on in the property market?
House prices out, yes. Look, it's a really divergent price series from city to city. Bottom line, house price growth is still slowing, but in Melbourne, Hobart, Darwin and Canberra already, prices are actually dropping. Not much, but they're down about that 0.5% to 1% from where they were a quarter ago. Likely to be reinforced with the numbers that come out later this week for the month of October. Sydney's slowing, so probably about flat for the month. So confirming that, maybe there's a lot of new listings out there, the softening in the labour market, to the extent that we've had that coming through, might just be seeing people sort of putting their properties on the market. So there's a bit of extra supply. Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane still booming, but the rate of increase is slowing down. So we're expecting sort of monthly increases between 0.5, 0.7 for those still strong cities. But overall, house prices are coming off the boil. And as I said, we've got roughly half the country with prices flat or down.
Okay, what about the retail sales figures that we're going to see this week? They're for September, I presume, Stephen?
They are for September, indeed. And, we had a lovely surprise last month. When you're trying to forecast a monthly number, you look what happened last month to sort of see whether there's momentum or what it means if there's another strong number. But you might recall last month we had a 0.7% increase in retail sales. That was August, where we got our income tax cuts paid. We mentioned the subsidies coming through on electricity and other items. So maybe we saved a few dollars that way. And, of course, wages growth is still reasonable. So all of a sudden, the consumer side of the economy, I wouldn't say it's roaring back, but it's sort of found a base. Look, the market's looking for a sort of a flattish result, that, consolidating the jump that we saw in August into September. Again, anything stronger / weaker than that will give us a bit more of a handle on how we consumers, we householders are dealing with this rate hiking environment that we've been in, these high interest rates and the pressure that's occurring elsewhere. So I'll be watching that closely. Building approvals. Sean, I think I've been like a broken record on this for years. We want to see an increase. The market's got basically a flat figure in there, so we want to build more houses. The housing crisis that some people are terming it, we want to build, we need to build houses, and we need building approvals to go up. So again, we just want to see a positive result coming through on that monthly indicator.
And just quickly on the lending data.
Lending data, look, people are still borrowing. This is the really curious thing about the housing cycle at the moment, even with prices moderating and activity slowing. A small uptick in lending because people are still borrowing reasonable amounts of money. Access to capital is pretty good. The labour market's helping people to borrow because they've got a job generally, and banks like that, of course. Or they don't lend to people, or not huge amounts to people who are unemployed, so that's going to be important. And in addition to that, Melbourne Cup's not that far away. So after the weekend that we just had, I'm narrowing it down.
Yep.
The map is my early tip, but I'm going to focus on that for next week's Week Ahead.
Right. Thank you, Stephen. Enjoy your week.
Thanks, John.
As economist Stephen Koukoulas, better known as The Kook. You can find him at thekook.com and follow him on X using the handle The Kook. I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is Fear and Greed, the Week Ahead.